You fool! Warren is dead.
Part 6. The Cabinet Maker. Jack Dobson locked up later than usual. He blamed the cold. It got into the wood, got into his hands, those painful, arthritic digits that continued to slow him down. The little workshop at the end of Buckingham Street had reeked of sawdust and glue since 1978. But tonight there was something else in the air, something vaguely unpleasant, like the odour of the stagnant canal. The cabinet maker swept offcuts into a corner, straightened the planks he intended to plane in the morning, then went for his coat. He checked the till, empty but for change, and flicked off the lights. The workshop sank into shadow, save for the faint glow from the tired street lamp opposite. But wait, there was no glow. The lamp was out. For a man in his late 50s, Jack was more superstitious than he cared to admit. There was something about dead bulbs that haunted him, like eyes that couldn't see. What might choose to dwell beneath a lifeless street lamp? Dark ones? Ghostly silhouettes with claws for hands? Nah, that had just been his granddad's way of teaching him to stick to the light. He tugged his hat lower, turned the key in the lock, then shoved it into his pocket. A sound made him pause. Something rough and heavy dragged across tarmac. Was there something out there in the night? The cabinet maker had heard about the missing kids. Who hadn't? Lowther wasn't the sort of place that kept secrets very long. They had a way of getting about, drifting from place to place like phantoms. People were frightened. Sensible people. The sort of folk who didn't frighten easily. The sound came again, closer this time. Jack's hand tightened around the key in his pocket. "All right," he murmured to himself. "Who's there then? Come on, let's have a look at you." An eerie silence followed, in which Jack's imagination did somersaults. He exhaled, annoyed at himself. "Daft sod," he muttered. "Hear a fox and suddenly..." A figure blocked the entrance to the yard. He struggled to perceive it at first, though it was somewhat familiar. It inched forward a fraction, paused. A handful of carrier bags exaggerated the silhouette, clinked together in the cold evening air, rustling like plastic wings. Jack's throat tightened. Again, the figure shuffled forward, and the cabinet maker realized who it was. The bag lady. At least that's what folk called her. Naturally, he'd seen her before. Everyone had. Usually from a distance, moving slowly along the canal path, sifting through rubbish with the industrious air of someone inspecting treasure. But there was something off about her now. She was bigger, bulkier. An odour filled the yard that was a mixture of rotten wood and the back of a bin lorry. "Evening," Jack managed, though the word caught on his dry tongue. The bag lady didn't respond. Her head jerked towards him. The woolly hat atop it sat crooked. Beneath it, the wiry patches of hair that stuck out were thin, like dry grass. The bulky glasses she wore were smaller somehow. Her head seemed inhumanly large.
"What's in the bag?"
she said, in a voice that seemed completely alien to the cabinet maker, a voice that was both shrill and coarse at the same time. I'm sorry," Jack managed. I'm not carrying a bag, love." The woman took another step forward, bag shifting and clacking as if something inside them was trying to move. Jack's heart pounded. He glanced down the street. Nobody out there, nobody to intervene. Buckingham was always quiet around tea time, especially in December, folk barricading themselves indoors in front of the fire.
"What's in the bag?"
the bag lady repeated, raising an arm as the words left her mouth, a mouth that was impossible to see in the shadowy yard. The cabinet maker saw the outline of her wrist, a bony wrist attached to a curiously and troublingly oversized hand, a bloated hand that floated in the air above her head like a misshapen balloon. Jack took a step back. "Right, okay, look, I'm closing up. Time to go home, yeah?" But the bag lady continued to inch forward, agonizingly slowly, the balloon-like hand hovering. Her distorted shadow spilled across the pavement. Jack winced as it came into contact with his boots. He reached behind him, fingers fumbling for the workshop door handle he'd just locked. If he could just whip the key out and... His left foot nudged something. A bin bag, a large one. "Take it," he said quickly, shoving it towards her with his boot. "It's yours. I don't want anything to do with..." The bag lady, who by now was within spitting distance, leaned forward and opened the bag, an awkward task with such swollen hands. Jack chanced a quick glance inside and instantly regretted it. The contents of the bag turned his stomach. He couldn't be absolutely certain. The light, after all, was poor. But he thought he saw fur, feathers, something small and limp, flesh-coloured. A torn ear? "Christ almighty!" he yelled. The bag lady straightened. Her glasses caught the faintest shimmer of moonlight. Her mouth, that hitherto hidden orifice, opened, a thin slit widening, hinting at something soft and dark inside.
"What's in the bag?"
The last word ended in a watery, squelching sound. Jack turned and went for the door, his frozen arthritic fingers grasping wildly for the key that was now deep in his trouser pocket. He didn't shout, couldn't manage a word. His ability to speak was somewhere else, caught in the space behind his teeth, as the cold air knifed his throat. With a triumphant snort, he extracted the key and shoved it into the lock. He could feel the bulk of the bag lady edging towards him. What the hell was she doing? Was this hag really after him, or had the strangeness of the situation simply served to work him up into a frenzy? These thoughts raced through his mind as he fumbled with the lock. Sore though his fingers were, he succeeded in unlocking the door and threw it open like a man possessed. In he leapt, filled with a vitality he hadn't known since youth. As he forced the door closed behind him, he caught one final glimpse of the bag lady in all her terrible glory. A bloated blob under a woolly hat, thick bin bags passing for outer garments, shiny under the moonlight. A face that was like a mask with the features sketched on top, glasses that veiled the eyes that lived behind them. And those appalling hands, puffy and pale, they seemed to wave at him as the door flung to. Jack locked the door and fell to his knees, chest heaving. He had to tell someone. But even as he thought it, something tightened in his stomach. What exactly would he be telling? That an old woman made him feel uncomfortable? That she'd shown him a sack full of mangled animals? That she'd grown, changed, become something monstrous? Nah, he muttered to himself. They'll think I've lost the plot. Maybe I have. Digging deep for courage, he climbed to his feet and crept to the only window that overlooked the yard. He swallowed hard as he stuck his head in front of it. The yard was empty.